a new Medal of Honor recipient, and a back and forth over a movie screening at U.S. Southern Command. All that and more today, September 6th, 2023. Good morning, Early Birds. I'm Zimone Perez, and this is the Early Bird Brief, produced by Defense News and Military Times. First up, President Joe Biden awarded the Medal of Honor yesterday to a Vietnam War Army helicopter pilot. Captain Larry Taylor risked his life in June 1968 when he flew his Cobra attack helicopter into heavy enemy fire to save 4 members of a reconnaissance team who were surrounded by enemy soldiers facing death.
Now, when I called Larry to let him know he finally was receiving this recognition, his response was, "I thought you had to do something to receive the Medal of Honor." Let me say that again. He said, "I thought you had to do something to receive the Medal of Honor." Well, Larry, you sure in hell did something, man. If you ask anyone here, I'm pretty sure they'd say you did something extraordinary.
Taylor received scores of combat decorations, which included a Silver Star, a Bronze Star, and 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, but he had not been awarded the Medal of Honor. Sergeant David Hill is one of the 4 men Taylor saved that night. He helped submit the review request for Taylor to get the prestigious award. Taylor, now 81, grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Military Times editor-at-large Todd South recently wrote about Taylor's story and spoke with us about his long journey to receive the Medal of Honor.
So what was really interesting about this particular case, a lot of the award and Valor Award upgrades we see, or later awards, posthumous even sometimes, are due to a host of factors. This one had its own unique characteristics, and I mean that sincerely. Basically, at the time, we're in heavy combat against some of the heaviest fighting of the Vietnam War. Captain Taylor and his men basically complete their mission, drop the guys off, fly back home. It's just another mission, just another day. They're out again the next day and for the months afterward until they finish their tour. The recon team splits off and goes and does more of their own missions. Now, in the interim, in the coming weeks, as paperwork's getting filed, people are noting this really courageous action. Some really sad events occur. This all happens on June 18th, but not less than 3 weeks later, Captain Taylor's commanding officer gets killed in a midair collision. He's also on a helicopter. That happens on July 4th of 1968.
We'll have more of that conversation with Todd in a future bonus episode, so stay tuned. Another important story, September is recognized as National Suicide Prevention Month, and this month, all 7 living former Veterans Affairs secretaries are shining a spotlight on a suicide prevention effort in November. The former secretaries are asking for the public to participate in National Warrior Call Day on November 12th by reaching out to veterans. The day is designed to highlight the estimated 17 veterans a day lost to suicide. Here's why it matters. VA leaders have said that increased agency outreach efforts help limit suicidal thoughts and actions among veterans, but they say involving the public is key to reducing the number of veterans who die by suicide. The former secretaries served under 3 different presidents and represent bipartisan support for the outreach efforts. AMVETS, Vietnam Veterans of America, Wounded Warrior Project, and America's Warrior Partnership also signed the letter calling on the public to participate. National Warrior Call Day is not an official public holiday, but several lawmakers in Congress have introduced legislation in recent years to formalize the event. And a reminder, any veteran in need of emergency counseling can call 988 and press 1 to reach the Veterans Crisis Line. In other news, U.S. Southern Command scheduled and then canceled showings of the Christian faith-based movie Sound of Freedom at its headquarters. But critics have questioned whether Southcom leadership is following policies. For more on this, military veterans and journalism fellow Allison Erickson joins the episode today. So, Allison, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding the film Sound of Freedom itself, and also about scheduling screenings at U.S. Southern Command headquarters. Could you talk about both of those for us?
Sure. So there are a few controversies around the film itself, and it doesn't seem to matter at this point that the film was controversial because it's been a huge hit. It's sold, I think, more than 200 million at box offices. Some of the controversial issues around it, particularly as they apply to this story. One, the film has been linked in the past to a lot of supporters of some of the QAnon ideology. QAnon ideology kind of ranges and spans, but particularly when it comes to child sex trafficking, there are some particular beliefs, unfounded and sometimes disproven, about things like, for example, adrenochrome, which the lead actor Jim Caviezel has on tours promoting the film leaned into to say, that sex traffickers are using this adrenochrome, they're harvesting it from children to sell to the quote unquote liberal elites in order for them to get high. And this is a particular part of QAnon that I find both interesting, and it's also a little bit wild that many, many people believe on this, particularly the film's lead actors. So in QAnon ideology, or some of the theories, when it comes to this idea of adrenochrome was made popular in the sort of science fiction-y fan world by the writer Hunter S. Thompson in his 1971 psychedelic classic Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It was listed as a way to get high, but that has been proven to be scientifically false. Additionally, what gets tacked onto this QAnon claim is that child sex trafficking is essentially used also by the liberal elites, is what the concept is. So you'll hear this phrase of a cabal, a secret political faction, mostly Democrats, right? This is what this theory is saying, that run this secret political faction to essentially have child sex trafficking run as a ring. But this has been disproven, baseless, and it also is very popular. So that's one of the main controversies. There are a few others, but particularly when it comes to Southcom, the issue kind of ranges. So we have a human sex trafficking expert. Her name is Sunny Slaughter. And she argues that there are a few issues with the appearance or potential appearance of any sort of governmental faction, government agency or department, DoD department, airing the film to make it seem like they're promoting the film. And part of that is, for example, the film has a heavy emphasis on Christianity. It might even be one of the central themes driving the lead characters, or the lead character based off of a real life former CIA agent, Tim Ballard, his way into wanting to combat sex trafficking in Latin America. According to Slaughter, she finds that the emphasis on victims gaining salvation through Christianity could be alienating. In addition, you have an issue with the separation of church and state if this is endorsed by a government entity.
And what was the response when the screenings were announced and when they were canceled? It seems like a lot of back and forth.
Sure. So initially, Military Times obtained messages about the showings that were supposed to be on August 28th and October 19th. I sent a query to find out more about why Southcom was promoting the event, and just to find out a little bit more about what aspects of the film were important to Southcom. Within a week, we received notice of cancellation of the screening, citing copyright concerns. No direct answer to my questions at the time, but they did cite copyright concerns and canceled both the August 28th and October 19th screenings. We still were interested in the controversial nature of the film and why, in that same response email that we saw, Southcom and USAG Miami Garrison manager were interested in saying that they encouraged people to watch the film. And so that was of particular interest because of that same controversy. Like, what does the government get to kind of okay? And because Southcom has this combating trafficking in persons mission, a particular mission, how would this film, which has a lot of controversy, potentially impact Southcom's mission? Would they discuss it? We don't know. The answers we received later when I spoke with Jose Ruiz, their public affairs officer, essentially were that the intent of showing the screening on base was because it has already been a kind of a blockbuster hit, that people were spending their own money to watch the film anyway because of the nature of the sex trafficking themes. Southcom said they would get ahead of it and have screenings. While they did put messages that they didn't endorse the film itself, they seemed to counter their own messaging by encouraging that others watch the film because of the nature of their work.
Thanks, Allison, for joining us. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please like and rate us wherever you get your podcasts. Also on your radar for today, a corporal gave a speech in front of the top Marine and got promoted. Then Corporal Peyton Knott had never met a 4-star general, or any general for that matter, before July 24th. But that day, Knott received an unexpected Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal from the top general in the Marine Corps. Knott says Assistant Commandant General Eric Smith asked him to deliver a speech, so Knott spoke to the Marines about the merits of selfless leadership and is focused on taking care of his Marines. Smith then asked the rest of the battery who thought he should promote Knott right there and then. Knott told Marine Corps Times the entire battery raised their hands, and next thing he knew, he was getting promoted to sergeant. According to the Corps promotion policies, the commandant or acting commandant has the authority to give meritorious promotions to enlisted ranks private first class through sergeant. Now a motor transport Marine, Knott is assigned to Romeo Battery, 1st Battalion, 10th Marine Regiment at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And now here are some other stories that we're hearing chirps about. Military families who are enrolled in TRICARE premium plans for young adults, reservists, retired reservists, and separating service members will once again see hikes in their premiums. That increase starts January 1st. In case you missed it, Ukraine's defense minister submitted a letter of resignation on Monday. That came after President Volodymyr Zelensky said he would be replaced and named his successor. A U.S. official told the Associated Press that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un may travel to Russia soon to meet with President Vladimir Putin. The meeting could come as the Kremlin tries to acquire military equipment to use in its war in Ukraine. The official was not permitted to speak publicly about the issue and spoke to the AP on the condition of anonymity. And in case you missed it, Japan's Supreme Court on Monday dismissed Okinawa's rejection of a central government plan to build U.S. Marine Corps runways on the island. The court ordered the local government to approve the plan despite protests by locals who opposed the American troops' presence. And on this day in 1901, President William McKinley was shot in Buffalo, New York. He died a few days later due to complications from the wounds. That's it for us this morning. To get more top stories and breaking news, go to defensenews.com/EBB to subscribe to the Early Bird Brief newsletter. Please give us a like, rating, and comment wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to follow us on social media at @defense_news and at Military Times. The Early Bird Brief is hosted and produced by me, Zimone Z. Perez. Today's episode featured stories by Todd South, The Associated Press, Leo Shane III, Allison Erickson, and Irene Lowenson. Our editor-in-chief is Mike Bruce. Have a great day.